Good day, good night, good whatever. We're at Exodus chapter 38, verse 18, continuing. And the hanging for the gate of the court was needlework of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen. Notes, the blue typifying heavenly origin, the purple typifying his position as king, the scarlet typified his shed blood on the cross of Calvary, and the fine twined linen typified his righteousness. Scripture, and 20 cubits was the length, and the height in the breadth was 5 cubits. And notes, this was 7.5 feet. The merely curious could not see over this fence. Scripture, answerable to the hangings of the court. Verse 19. And their pillars were 4, and their sockets of brass 4, their hooks of silver, and their overlaying of the chapiters, and their fillets of silver, and all the pins of the tabernacle and of the court round about were of copper. Verse 21. This is the sum of the tabernacle, even of the tabernacle of testimony, as it was counted, according to the commandment of Moses, for the service of the Levites by the hand of Ithamar, son of Aaron the priest. Notes, Ithamar was placed in charge. Aaron had 4 sons, and Ithamar was the youngest. The 2 of the sons, Nadab and Abihu, would be slain personally by the Lord for the events described in Leviticus chapter 10, verse 1 and 2. Quite plainly, God got really ticked off at them. Verse 22. And Bezaleel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, made all that the Lord had commanded Moses. And with him was Aholiab, son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, an engraver and a cunning workman, and an embroiderer in blue and purple and scarlet and in fine linen. Notes, everything was designed by the Lord, even down to the last detail. These designs were to be followed through minutely and without fail. God paid very, very close attention to the last square inch of this building. Verse 24. All the gold that was occupied for the work in all the work of the holy place, even the gold of the offering, was 29 talents and 730 shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary. Notes, this is about $14 million, actually, worth of materials. Verse 25. And the silver of them that were numbered of the congregation was 100 talents, and 1,703 score and 15 shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary. Notes, this is about $750,000 in modern U.S. currency. Verse 26. A bekah for every man, that is, a half shekel, after the shekel of the sanctuary, for everyone who went to be numbered from 20 years old and upward. Notes, these were men of war, and if a census was taken, each man was responsible to pay a half shekel of silver, worth about $3. As silver signified redemption, this tells us that Israel's power and strength did not rest upon force of arms, but rather on the power of God, and more particularly the shed blood of the Lamb, which redemption actually portrayed. Scripture, for 600,000 and 3,550 men. Notes, this is 603,550 at modern terms, and as stated, all the men were men of war. These were counted from 20 years up and olders all the way up to 50 years old. Counting those younger and older, as well as all the women and girls, the population would have been approximately 3 million. Verse 27. And of the 100 talents of silver were cast the sockets of the sanctuary and the sockets of the veil, and 100 sockets of the 100 talents, a talent for a socket. Notes, about 75 pounds. Verse 28. And of the 1,775 shekels he made hooks for the pillars, and overlaid their chapiters, and filleted them. And the copper of the offering was 70 talents and 2,400 shekels. Verse 30. And therewith he made the sockets to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the brazen altar, and the brazen grate for it, and all the vessels of the altar. Notes, remember that copper signified judgment. Verse 31. And the sockets of the court round about, and all the sockets of the court gate, and all the pins of the tabernacle, and all the pins of the court round about. Chapter 39. Verse 1. And of the blue and purple and scarlet they made cloths of service to do service in the holy place. Notes, this is the first compartment of the tabernacle, basically. Scripture. And made the holy garments for Aaron as the Lord commanded Moses. Notes, the reason the study of the tabernacle is of such spiritual profit is simply because every part and parcel of this Scripture, plus all of its sacred vessels, symbolized Christ in some manner. Therefore, to learn the tabernacle is basically to learn Christ. Like I said, there is just simply no bottom to this barrel. I have personally just scratched the surface. If you want to learn more about the tabernacle, I suggest you take Perry Stone's course on it. I can't think of the name of it, but he does a really good job explaining this. He does so much better than I do. So yeah, go to him as a better source probably for the tabernacle. Verse 2. And he made the ephod of gold, pure and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen. Notes, this was the outer robe worn by the high priest. And this contained all the colors used by the other material, but with one addition. It was gold. Actually, this was more than a mere color, but rather gold wires, as portrayed in the next verse, and probably woven into the hem. Verse 3, and continuing, and they did beat the gold into thin plates, and cut it into wires to work it in the blue, and in the purple, and in the scarlet, and in the fine linen with cunning work. Notes, this garment must have been very, very beautiful. In fact, as far as we know, these are the only garments in the history of man that were designed by the Lord of glory. Turning the page. Verse 4. They made shoulder pieces for it to couple it together. By the two edges was it coupled together. Notes, the back and the front were coupled together at the shoulders, basically, is what this is saying. Verse 5. And the curious girdle, which was a sash tied around the waist, of his ephod that was upon it, was of the same, according to the work thereof, of gold, blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen, as the Lord commanded Moses. This girdle represents, this girdle represents Christ as it regards his preparation for service. We will have to pick up in Exodus chapter 39, verse 6. Thank you very much.